Australia is home to a quarter of the world's shark and ray species. This makes us a global biodiversity hotspot. And of the 328 species in our waters, nearly half of them aren't found anywhere else in the world. Sharks are incredibly important to a marine ecosystem. Generally, as top and apex predators, they keep food webs in check and in balance. And when we overfish them, or when we remove too many of them, there is a real risk that food webs can become unstable and potentially collapse. One of the great Aussie pastimes is fish and chips. Friends, family, and a good feed. But there's a darker side. Flake, otherwise known as shark meat. You could be eating any species and not know it, but even worse, it could be endangered. We need to give flake a break.
Right now in Australia, the labelling laws are such that, especially for cooked seafood, that they don't need to actually label what sort of fish you're eating. It can just say fish. So we need to know what we're eating. Are we eating a critically endangered school shark, or is it something that's sustainably harvested? So we did an analysis. We went around Southeast Queensland and collected seafood from places that people commonly eat. So restaurants, cafes, supermarkets, fish and chip shops. And we found in that we are consuming endangered shark species. We found the endangered school shark, which is a critically endangered species, on the IUCN Red List.
School shark and scalloped hammerhead are listed as conservation dependent. Conservation dependent was a category that was pretty much created for the commercial fishing industry. So any other species that's not commercially valuable would be listed as endangered. But instead we have these legislative gymnastics that created a new category called conservation dependent so that commercial fishing could continue to exploit this endangered species.
Flake should only refer to a species called the gummy shark or rig shark, neither of which are endangered. But unfortunately, it's used as a catch-all term for any shark meat. And this includes endangered scalloped hammerhead, endangered school shark, and even endangered green-eyed spurdog.
My family has a really, really close relationship with fish and chip shops. You know, that's part of my childhood. It's really part of every New Zealander and Australian's childhood, actually. I remember Friday nights for us were fish and chip night. We would order our fish and chips. They'd be wrapped in the newspaper. And I would take the chips, the hot chips, and put them in the roof rail of the Holden Kingswood as we cruised up the road, so that they would cool down a little bit, and then I'd be able to eat them. I have really fond memories of fish and chips. Unfortunately, I have to avoid flake altogether. That's not a sustainable choice, and I don't want to be somebody that's eating an endangered species of shark. And I don't think any of us do, actually, no.
I was a master's student of Adam Stowe at Macquarie University doing my Masters of Research, and I was working with him on conservation genetics of sharks being sold at our fish markets and fish and chip shops around Australia. The green-eyed spurdog was found in samples taken from fish markets in Melbourne. The scalloped hammerheads likely came from the east coast of Australia. At least over 50% of our samples were mislabelled, whether that was species mislabelling or a different shark being sold under the label of flake instead of the gummy shark. It's particularly concerning as we have a number of shark species in Australia on the critically endangered list globally.
It is frustrating to me as somebody who cares and loves food that is the case. And you cannot imagine this happening with a group of land-based animals in the same way. Imagine if beef was the word for pigs and lambs and kangaroos, and that's an insane thought. But yet here we are with the word flake. meaning many different species of sharks, different wild animals.
We don't sell flake because there is no guarantee of its traceability of what species of shark you're going to be eating, or shark meat, for instance. And that flake banner is very, very shady.
One of the most impactful fishing practices on the Great Barrier Reef is the use of gill nets, which are large nets used to catch shark species, for example, and turtles and dolphins and dugongs can get entangled in them as a bycatch.
Grandfather was a fisherman, father was a fisherman, and you know, loved being on the water as a kid and out with the old man on the boat, and just basically, you know, left school at a young age and wanted to go fishing. So being an inlet fisherman in Corner Inlet, and you know, I just love it. If you're fishing unsustainably and there's nothing to catch tomorrow, you're putting yourself out of a job. So sustainability is at the forefront, and we work hard to make sure that it's sustainable. Predominantly we use a ringing seine, so the fish can be bagged up and they're actually swimming around in the net, and we dip them out with little dip nets. What we don't want goes back over alive. The idea of fishing and leaving as small a footprint as you possibly can is a good industry. If you can have a fishing industry like that, it's great.
The good news is there's a few. A fundamental one is having independent observation on all fishing vessels. Now what this means is we'll know what's being caught, where it's being caught, and how many are being caught. So when it comes to endangered species, we know just how much their population can take. And that brings us to our next solution, mortality triggers, which in simple terms means that when a scientifically determined amount die from fishing, the fishing stops. By putting that limit on, we can ensure that the population can still survive into the future and rebuild.
In South Australia, they saw the problem where the shark fisheries were causing the decline of the endangered sea lion, and they put in a whole range of actions, from putting independent observers to help monitor the problem, all the way to placing gillnet exclusion zones. This had a really positive impact on the population, which is fantastic. In the contrary, in Western Australia, they haven't taken this leadership, and they're still seeing the decline of the sea lion and the catch of the Australian sea lion in their shark fisheries there.
If you eat seafood, know what you're eating and where it came from. If it's not labeled, ask. If they can't answer, take your business elsewhere, because this is of crucial importance.
When people come to Attica to eat, for me, the base level expectation is that myself and my team would have taken care of all of the questions around sustainability. Because ultimately, Attica is about the highest quality, and it just so happens that the highest quality is the most sustainable.
The customers which come in here now, they don't look for shark meat anymore. They want to know where their fish comes from, who caught it and when it was caught. And that is the key three things that we do here at Angler.
I also think it's really important to know that the small decisions you make every day really can make a difference, or the conversations you have with people, and spreading the message that endangered species are being sold in Australia. It is a concern, and you can make decisions to avoid this and not support this.
I really believe in the goodness of Australians, and I really think that Australians want to do the right thing. But we haven't had a really good source of information for a long time, and now we do, the good fish.
There's stuff out there that you can, to make an educated guess, like on Good Fish, you can jump on there, you can see what's green listed.
It's about doing it in a way that's responsible and guarantees that you'll be able to do it in the future, and so will your children.
The most immediate action you can take is sign up to be a shark champion and support conservation initiatives that ensure the health of our oceans and protect our endangered sharks and rays. We're their biggest threat, but we're also their only hope.